But with the 2040s, where they're shooting real good right now at 195 plus, you know, with a 3/8 steel, in the wintertime, you just, you know, keep them in the drawer.
Yeah, I was saying this before, I was asking you about this. Those numbers, I see them numbers, 2040s, 1745. What are they exactly, those numbers?
Inside, first number's inside diameter, second number's outside.
Yeah, because I'm sure other people wanted to know that too. I thought they were catalog numbers. Said, well, I'm going to get me some 1745. Let me look up the catalog. And I just know that's inside diameter. Okay. Keep learning. Yeah, that's what I thought it was, catalog number, man.
I have taken those tubes, used a Carter key and a single edge razor blade and split them in half. And I think they shoot better split in half than they do whole.
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard people doing that.
Huh?
It's too much work though.
I just gave
Really
him a
is.
bunch
Yeah,
of,
he cut a bunch of tubes up.
he gave me some red latex, what was that, 3/8?
I think that was shark killing tubes.
No, it wasn't spear gun rubber.
Oh,
It was air conditioning rubber, I think.
was it? I don't even know.
3/8. The red stuff you gave me last year.
We've even seen a difference between the red, you know, 1842 tubing or 1745, whatever
Yeah.
it is, versus the black.
Black probably has the UV additives in it or something.
I think the red does because it didn't stretch as good.
Yeah.
Cut the same length and it didn't stretch as good. Looks identical though, you know, from a physical standpoint, besides the color. I don't know what's in that black, but
Them little tubes shoot good though, I'm saying tubes, I was watching them, you know, I was watching you shoot them things quick. A lot faster than the old style tubes.
Go on. Back to a finish.
First tubular band was made by Rodney Wolf from Wisconsin. And they shot pretty good, but they had no longevity to them. And now Marksman has them out, but I'll shoot faster than them with my gum rubber. Place in Michigan, I've been getting gum rubber. That's what I shot for years. Been getting it there for 40 years. It's called Exotic Plastics and Rubber in Grand River in Farmington, Michigan. Still get it there.
Where the Michigan guy go? Yeah,
And the rubber, I've got that flat band about in the square yard. I've got it 4 or 5 different places. The best place I've got it has been Exotic Plastics and Rubber. The other, you get it, I ordered a square yard one from Massachusetts, 90,000 thick. Ordered it COD since I retired. Quick as I got it down, cut me a pair, got about 10 shots out of it. Broke. So a lot of it is trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to a finish, you use a CA finish, right?
Sometimes.
No. Okay, what other things do people use?
I love poly. I love poly, basically, because it's easier.
Just an
I'll
oil
be perfectly
base.
honest. The work that Nathan does is a lot of work into the slingshots. And he's selling Cadillac slingshots, really top of the line, bulletproof slingshots, so is Jimmy. I was just carving them up, spare time, $35 slingshots. I dip them, put a little screw hole on the end of them, sand them up. I'll sand them up to like 160 or something like that. Like he said before, when you're using it real hard, urethane fission or something, you don't really even have to get the base down there. 160, tighten it up a little, dip it, cover it up with a piece of plastic so no dust gets on it. Lightly sand it with some abrasive cloths, 2 or 3 coats of that. That's it for me. But I mean, if you really want a nice finish, then you go to them guys. You know, hand rub, this and that.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I
Like
took the easy way out.
Gamekeeper John, he does an amazing finish with, I think he uses a spray finish out of a can. It's a poly finish. And I think it's just a satin finish. It's made by Plastico, which you can get here in the U.S. But his key with that is he uses a really warm spray room. So he'll get his spray room up to like 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is key because the poly flows a lot better. He'll, I'm assuming he does this, wipe the frames down with mineral spirits so they're completely degreased and make sure there's no dust in the air. Spray multiple thin coats, and I don't know if he's doing it anymore because he does so many frames, but if you really want a fine finish, spray a thin coat, let it dry up completely in that warm environment. In 6 hours, you can hit it with 4/0 steel wool. Just scuff it up, do it again, let it dry, scuff it up, do it again. By the third time you got it, you're starting to get a build. And at that point, you've got enough of a build where you can go in with like a Tripoli, like a cloth build, and buff it out, and just do it on slow speed. Poly's a lot softer than like the finish I use. I use a finish by Sherwin-Williams. It's a catalyzed conversion varnish, so it's a two-part. I spray it on with the HVLP sprayer, but it's a lot, I don't know what the proper terminology would be for it, but it's a harder finish, and more chip resistant.
Yeah.
So I'm able to sand it a lot heavier and bring it to a higher polish, whereas poly, it's a little gummier. So with poly, you want to just take your time and do it by hand, don't use any mechanical means to bring it to a high polish, but if you do, use a light touch. And then a lot of guys are using the linseed oil finish. And the key with that, you can get a huge, I mean, you can get just make Slingshot shine. And all it is just time. It's just a matter of the mechanical process of putting it in there, letting it dry, and then buffing the crap out of it with either steel wool or 3M makes a product. It's their Scotch-Brite line of products.
That's it.
And they've got the green is, I think, the roughest. And I take it all the way up to the white when I do it about that. And the white is equivalent to, I think, like a 600 grit. And it does a great job in it. But it's just it's just a matter of rubbing. And if you add beeswax, you've been doing a lot of beeswax, haven't you?
Some paste wax, Johnson's paste wax, just after the Danish oil.
I wish Ray was here. Ray Shot's been doing a lot of work with a wax called Renaissance wax, and it's used by a lot of high-end furniture refinishers. And it's really expensive. It comes in little tiny containers, but it does an amazing job. And something I've just started using is just plain carnauba wax, just a stick of carnauba wax.
Oh, yeah.
And I just put it on the cloth wheel and just hit that as my final. And that seems to do a good job.
I know from painting other things, if you use like a spray poly, I assume it'd be the same. If you let that can sit in warm water,
Yes.
Flowability is better.
Yeah,
It's great to say.
it'll
Oh,
spray
really?
better.
Can warm too.
It's more pressure, expands in there. And the other is, I do a lot of lathe work, and like when I sand things, I sand up to 2,000, but they have stuff, it's micro mesh, which you can get from like a violin company and stuff, that stuff goes up ridiculous, and that's a cloth based, and that stuff lasts forever.
Only the amount of time you want to spend on it. One thing good about an oil finish versus a poly finish, the repairs are a lot easier. Poly, oh god, the whole thing got to be done oil.
But the upside of a CA finish, and Bill's been really experimenting with this. Bill's
Haven't
done
done one yet.
a lot of CA finishes, and we'll be shooting one afternoon. He'll get a fork kit and just crack the crap out of his finish, and he'll come back the next week, and you can't tell that it's been broken. And all he's done is repaired that one spot, and all he's had to do is refinish that one spot. Whereas if that was a poly finish, you'd have to repair the whole thing basically. So CA is nice because you can spot repair it really easy. And CA is a whole other category. It's nasty stuff, but it's an easy finish to get nice.
I use that on my pens,
Yeah.
but
A lot of pen guys.
it lasts a long time. I mean, you're using, people are making, $100 pens and stuff, but that CA finish will last, and it's a lot nicer for that purpose.
I just don't like the time you gotta use with poly. With me, it's all about time. The time that I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
you're-
dedicate
yeah.
to it, so I've turned to lacquer. I mean, lacquer just, you can
No, it's done.
do 3, 4, 5 coats in an evening, and it's done.
I'll put one, I'll spray one, put one in a box, dip it, put it in a box, let it go for a week. I'm on full productions, and when I get to it, that's it.
I'm just surprised at how quick the lacquer dries.
Oh, yeah, that stuff is
You
great.
put it on, and within 3 minutes, you can touch the thing. It's not cured all the way through, but, but the same thing, light coats. I usually put about 3 coats on, then, hit it with 400 lightly, then come back and hit it maybe once or twice more, and it's done.
All about the time you put into it.
Could you do an epoxy finish?
I've done one epoxy finish, and I didn't do it again because it ruined my spray gun. And that was just because I was lazy and didn't clean it quick enough. I didn't realize how quick it was going to kick off. But I've got a friend that's a lawyer, and he does epoxy finishes. And when it's done properly, there's nothing that can match an epoxy finish. It's nice. And it's super durable.
Yeah.
It's nasty to work with. There's a lot to it. But one of the finishes I like best, I'll make it in-house. is I take boiled linseed oil,
Leaks.
raw
They're
tongue
tournament
oil,
bands. I ain't
50-50.
Thank
So,
you very much.
take a beer can of boiled linseed oil, a beer can of raw tongue oil, pour them together to a double boiler, heat it up, then throw in chips of beeswax until, have you ever made candy?
I've doubled.
Well, ask your wife, when the finish sheets off of a spoon, meaning when you dip a cold spoon into it and pull it out, and it blazes right over, and it's thick, it makes a paste. This finish, that means you have enough wax.
Okay.
And you just let all that
Whatever
chill
you
together,
know,
and you basically
try
got a
and see.
paste.
I
And you
thank
just
you
rub
very
that
much.
into your finished frame,
You want any money?
let it absorb,
Yeah, it is
keep
into
it in a warm
do it.
place.
I
Do it
use
again.
gum rubber.
And then, if you wanna get really
Okay.
into it, you can hit it with steel wool between each coat, and just keep adding those coats. But what's nice about that is it's got the beeswax in it, so the linseed oil and the tongue oil penetrate, and kind of polymerize around the wood structure. But the beeswax is a surface finish, so the more you rub it, I mean, you can just rub it on your jeans even, you just get it hot, and you can get that nice satiny patina, but it's also very water resistant and resistant to hand oils.
I've seen people use on lathe work for multiple things, but there's one guy who makes a slurry to sand with mineral oil and beeswax. A mix he just
Like a rotten stone finish. You heard of that?
Uh-uh.
A lot of furniture people use it. It's a powdered pumice,
Yeah.
and it's grated pumice powder. So it's pumice powder that's all uniform in its diameter. And you take a mineral oil and pour it over your work surface, sprinkle the powder over it, and rub it in with a felt block.
Some kind of rubber.
But this guy will take, his mineral oil, add the wax to it, mix it all up, and then just dip his sandpaper in,
Or even a rag.
and he sands with that, so.
Huh?
Is that that new stuff?
It might be, I don't really know.
Is that that new stuff?
I can lend him one of my hearing aids for the rest of the week.
You should. I would appreciate that.
That stuff you introduced last year? What'd you call it? It was a white rubber, what'd you
Oh,
call it?
latex free.
Huh?
That's that latex free stuff. I got it off a company. I didn't like it. Is that latex free?
What was it called? It had a fancy name.
The white stuff? AR?
What was it? AR?
That's abrasion resistant gum. That's just a.
This ain't AR?
Nah, that's not. That's latex. I don't know if it's. It looks like the way it's stretching is good.
I'm shooting.
Stretch it full.
Said that
Bottom
would
out.
turn it
All the way out.
Right there.
Yeah, that might be fake.
It's bottoming out quick.
That may be the fake stuff. I don't know. We're always experimenting with rubber. All new kind of rubber, anytime.
Not rubber, it's rubber.
Anything to stretch it, we're gonna try it.
Rubber.
Rubber, yeah.
Does anybody got anything else? We can casually chat for hours, or we can tighten it up.
That makes the car 40,000.
Well, it's nighttime, let's make it interesting, let's shoot.
Yeah. Nothing else, let's shoot.
Let's shoot, we're ready to shoot.
Got nothing else to do, let's go shoot.
All right.
We got some glow stuff, we can paint the steel ball glow and shoot them up in the sky,
Well, everybody, thanks for coming out, really appreciate it. Gary, thanks
Thanks,
for being
buddy.
here.
Thanks,
Jim,
buddy.
thanks for coming in.
Sorry we were late, we just
Well,
hungry.
no worries. Blue, thank you for being here.
Good meeting.
Thanks, Blue.
And Kenny, thank you very much for doing the video. Really appreciate that.